The speed limit, a much maligned topic amongst us motorcyclists and, to be honest, car drivers too. The speed limit is something that we genuinely need, but I think we get frustrated at, especially as motorcyclists, because our machines are so high performance and so easily capable of exceeding the speed limit pretty much everywhere. Unless you got a Honda Grom or a little dual sport or something like that, pretty much anywhere in the United States, a motorcycle can vastly exceed the posted speed limit. And in today's video, I kind of wanted to talk about why that might not be such a bad thing that we have a speed limit, what we could do as some ideas to kind of create a better system for our speed limits, right? Are there anything that could change for the speed limit so that we can enjoy it better? And the first thing I think about is that the speed limit is set such that everyone can use it and ride and drive in a safe and good way. Look at this view right here, boys. Look at that beauty. You want to slow down when you look at stuff like that. Here in Austin, Texas. So yeah, it's designed for such that, you know, people can very safely stop their machines. They can drive in such a way that, you know, they're not going to hit school children, that sort of thing. The speed limit is very much dependent on location. Like right now, I'm going 28 miles an hour. I think I'm speeding, to be perfectly honest. I should be doing maybe like 20 or 15 or whatever the sign back there said. I can't quite remember. But the tricky thing is number one, motorcycles can accelerate and usually speed without you really trying hard at all. And number two is the fact that a lot of motorcyclists are more trained and more vigilant than car drivers, you know? I'm not saying that all motorcyclists are not vigilant and are vigilant, but you know, the vast majority of us have specialized training to ride our motorcycles. Some of us are even track day enthusiasts, club day racers, that sort of thing. And I think that can vastly change your perspective on speeding, because you know, you can think, okay, I can ride this road, for example, at 40 miles per hour and it's completely fine. I feel like I'm completely within check and I'm not speeding. But I guarantee you the speed limit here is not 40 miles per hour, folks. Definitely not. I bet it's something closer to 25. And 25 feels more like this. That is very slow for us motorcyclists. And when you have a higher degree of training and you have a greater understanding of your machine, and you are by definition locked and engaged in riding your machine, you can typically ride a lot faster than the speed limit suggests. But it's usually not safe to do so because of conditions, because people are around you. And so the speed limit being a fixed number on the road, to me, is sometimes a bit silly, right? You go on a highway that's wide open on a clear, bright blue sky day, not much traffic. In my opinion, it should just become an autobahn, right? And people should drive as fast as they feel is correct. Do something more like Germany. But the issue is, I don't think people can be trusted. Quite honestly, I think if you give people carte blanche to speed, man, nobody knows what the hell they're doing. They're going to be using their cell phones. They're going to be turning on their Tesla autopilot and believe that it's going to protect them, and they're going to kill themselves or others or both. And so I genuinely don't think people can be trusted with a variable speed limit like that, because I just think it's a bad idea. But it can leave a sense of frustration in those of us that are highly engaged, committed, have done extensive training, and can definitely handle a machine at faster than legal speed limits. But the other thing you have to keep in mind is, just because if you believe you can drive faster than the speed limit, it doesn't mean that that precludes you from something happening while you are driving that limit, you know? Like, for example, if I was to ride through here at 50 or 60 miles an hour, which is possible, right? Like, it is technically possible to do that on this road. Look at all these people walking around. You know, that would be a terrible idea, because what if a little kiddo is trying to cross the street? And you never know, kids can sometimes run out and not really look both ways on the street because they're just so little. And you going that fast, you're not going to be able to come to a stop in time. The speed limit is more about closing distance and catastrophes that can happen at that speed or beyond it, rather than the actual speed itself. You know, people love to say this quote, and I cannot disagree with it more. People will say, oh, speed never killed anybody, it's stopping suddenly that did. But what happened to get you to stop so suddenly? You sped. You sped on your motorcycle, and then you had a catastrophic accident that caused such great damage. And had you been going slower, you could have scrubbed off more speed or come to a complete stop. or if you had hit something at that speed, it wouldn't have been so bad, right? So I think that thinking about your speed while you're on your bike is super important in relation to the speed limit, and you should treat the speed limit as a guideline, right? Look, I'm not going to sit here and say I religiously follow the speed limit 24/7. I do the best I can. But what I'm doing is more thinking about the conditions in the environment, right? Like back there, I'm not going to go much faster than 25 or 30 miles per hour because it's, you know, populated and there's some folks around there, and that would just be a bit of a silly idea to go that fast in that area, right? And I'm definitely going to be covering my front brake and keeping an eye on everything that's happening around me. But I'm not too concerned with what the posted speed limit says, unless I spot law enforcement, which is typically what the speed limit is there for, man. For a lot of little towns, and a lot of bigger towns too, the speed limit can act as an arbitrary and oftentimes artificially low you know, barometer for people driving so that the city can collect extra revenue by way of traffic tickets. This has been highly documented. This is not me being conspiratorial. There are areas where the speed limit changes suddenly for no reason. There's spots here in Austin where it will go from 55 down to 40, back to 55 for seemingly no reason, and there's always a police officer sitting there waiting to collect extra revenue for the city. A lot of cops, I don't know if this is still the case, but it's been highly documented. The cops have quotas. They have to hit certain numbers, attach extra revenue to the city, because enforcing those rules, and because it's so low stakes for most people, you know, everybody does 5 or 10 over the speed limit, especially if it's a little lower. You know, it's very easy for police officers to sit there and just collect extra revenue for the city. So sometimes the speed limit can literally be a mechanism by which the city taxes you more. Isn't that nice? Don't you love paying even more taxes to our great governments? Isn't it fantastic? And then the other thing that can happen too is, you know, the street design can sometimes lend itself to a higher speed naturally. What do I mean by that? Like, consider something like this road right here. You know, it's a wide, you know, lots of space in the middle, almost highway-esque road. I can very comfortably do 60 miles an hour on this road, and it's really no problem at all. But I guarantee you the speed limit here is closer to 40, and the road design lends itself that you want to go faster because your brain is perceiving it as more of a highway. This is also something that's been highly documented and shown, that the types of street and how wide they are and how they are set up will drastically determine how fast you want to drive or ride. If you're in tight, contained corners, you know, you're in an urban area, you got sidewalk, bike lanes, pedestrians, buildings right next to you, you know, your sense of speed will be altered and you won't want to go so fast on those streets. You naturally tend to go a little bit slower. So, you know, someone posting up a sign, the city posting up a sign that says, oh, this area is 40 miles an hour, no matter what time of day, no matter what the area is, no matter what the weather conditions, no matter how much traffic, it's a bit ridiculous, you know? If you really stop to think about it, it's a bit ridiculous that the speed limit is an immutable number that no matter what, you are meant to go that speed. Sometimes it's not safe to go the speed limit. If you have a ton of traffic, you have rain, you have ice, you gotta slow down anyways. But the speed limit says, oh, it's 40, so everybody has to try to do 40. And again, naturally what happens is people will be driving and they will all kind of speed up. Everyone's trying to get to where they're trying to go to. And pretty much everywhere, man, everywhere in the states that I've driven or ridden in, everybody's doing about 10 miles an hour faster than the speed limit because of the way the streets are designed, you know? So, I don't know. I don't really give too much credence to the speed limit. I like to go with the flow of traffic safely. And if I'm gonna have some fun on my motorcycle, because as I said, it's a high performance vehicle, it can do a whole lot of damage in terms of speeds, especially this MT-09 SP that I'm sat atop of, which by the way, I'm giving this motorcycle away over on yammynoob.co. If you want to win a free motorcycle, head over to my website and check that out. I've given away over 50 motorcycles valued at over $500,000. It's a ton of fun. I love what I do, and it's a big part of how I run this channel. So go and check that out, please. Beautiful MT-09 SP up for grabs. But this MT-09 SP is really damn fast, right? Like, it can really get to cooking pretty fast on speed limits. I'm going to show you guys here. We're already doing damn near 80 miles an hour. That's way too fast for these conditions, right? We don't want to be doing 80 on this road. I don't know what the speed limit is, but it's certainly not 80. But going with the flow of traffic is certainly something you want to be doing, you know? And the speed limit is not really a concern for me. The other thing that's interesting is suggested speed limits. You have these tiny little yellow signs that we just passed by that give you a suggestion for the speed you should take a certain corner at. Typically it's corners that they suggest. And again, you're operating for the speed limit for the lowest barometer, right? The lowest common denominator. You're going to assume that it's someone with a very low skill set when it comes to driving, someone who's on their phone, someone who's texting, someone who's being silly, that sort of thing. And so naturally they post it a little bit lower just to be like, hey, you should probably take this corner at 15 miles an hour. And you're like, well, that's extremely slow for a motorcyclist who has any modicum of experience and practice, right? You see this a lot on fast, twisty roads and those sort of things. You see the little chevron signs, the suggested speeds, and oftentimes I mean, look at this. We're doing 63 miles an hour. It's a 55 mile an hour speed limit here, but this looks like a highway to me, you know? Like, I don't really feel like there's much difference for this between this and Mopac, which we have here on Austin. It's a big highway. You know, it's just interesting how the perception of the speed limit can totally change, and how people get there and how they ride is completely different too. I think we got a little friend here on a Ninja 400, perhaps? Something like that. A little tail tidy. Looks like he's doing the speed limit. But yeah, I mean, the suggested speeds are basically a joke. You should not be going the suggested speed unless you're very unsure of yourself and you've never ridden in that area before. But you can definitely get away with going a little bit faster than the yellow signs would suggest. But all that to say, I think being a motorcyclist and riding means that you have to play to safety and play to your skill sets and to the conditions, right? Don't follow rules just because they're rules. Follow them as guidelines because the people who designed them probably had your safety in mind, you know? Like, don't do 120 miles per hour on this road, even though if there were no traffic, you could go as fast as you want here. You got ample visibility all the way out to that corner. That's about a half mile away. I mean, you could just party on this road, right? But, you know, conditions and traffic dictate that you shouldn't. And as a motorcyclist, we have to be extra safe and cautious because we're putting a lot at risk when we're riding our motorcycles, right? We're out there cruising around, having some fun with our machines. You know, thinking about the speed limit is definitely important, but I don't know, me personally, I don't treat it as an absolute number that I'm gonna follow no matter what. I don't really buy into that personally. I follow the flow of traffic. I don't like speeding by a bunch of traffic because that means that I'm riding way too fast for the conditions, and there's really no need to be doing that when you're on a motorcycle because you can very quickly get around people. You don't need to be constantly fishing through traffic. But making progress through traffic is important, and sometimes you'll find yourself like right here, you know, I'm going a little bit faster. I'm doing about 76 miles an hour in a 55. Go ahead and put me in handcuffs. I'm so sorry, but I'm trying to be safe getting around those people back there and give myself a space cushion right here, you know? So I'm okay with bending the speed limit a little bit if it's gonna put me in a safer spot, because motorcycles can accelerate so much better than cars. I can put myself in a spot that says, okay, I'm covered here, I'm safer here, and I like getting in front of people. When you're behind a bunch of people, you put yourself at risk. You know, if you're using the brakes instead of your gas to get ahead of people, that's not gonna be working out for you. You know, if you're braking to create space cushions, you're putting yourself in traffic, you're creating traffic for yourself. It's an accordion effect, you know? Also something that's been highly documented. People speed up towards traffic, then they all slow down and compress. If everybody gave each other space cushions and flowed better with traffic, we wouldn't have this issue. You'd have a whole lot less traffic to deal with if that was the case. So yeah, it's about going with the flow, it's about respecting others on the road, but it's not about following a number religiously, you know? Unless you're riding around and you got like 6 DUIs on your license and all these points and stuff. Personally, I think whenever I see someone religiously following the speed limit, I just think, why do you not want to get pulled over so much? I'm like, what are you hiding? I'd be a terrible traffic cop because I'd be so suspicious of a guy just literally going the speed limit. But I think it is suspicious. I'm like, why are you going exactly 5 under the speed limit? Why do you not want to get pulled over so bad? Do you have drugs in your car? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, folks. But yeah, I think it's an interesting conversation about speed limits. I think we could definitely do better as a country, as a state, if you want to be Texas-specific as a speed limit. We have some of the highest speed limits here in Texas, which is pretty cool. 85 miles an hour on our major toll roads. And, you know, they've shown that lower speed limits tend to be safer for pedestrians and traffic and that sort of stuff, which is pretty sweet, you know? if this guy lets me get around. There we go. And we're ahead right here. Adrenaline. But yeah, boys, that's what I think about the speed limit. What do you think? Let me know in the comments down below if you have any thoughts, questions, or concerns about the speed limit. And if you think it's something that should be followed, if it's something you should think should be different, let me know in the comments down below. Remember, this MT-09 SP is a giveaway motorcycle. Hit the link down below to yamanube.co and go and check that out. I will catch you guys in the next one. See you later. Well, boys, that's the end of this video. But you know what's really cool? Our members over on yamanube.co are the reason that we can keep this show going. I have a ton of fun doing this, and without those members, it would simply be impossible. So as a way of giving back, I give away these awesome motorcycles. This is an MT-09 SP that's up for grabs right now on yamanube.co. So join as a member, click that link down below on yamanube.co. But while you're doing that, click this link right over here and keep watching some more videos. Learn more about motorcycling, have some fun with me, watch some cool memes, and maybe I will also elucidate you to some of the finest cultural touchstones in motorcycling.